Welcome to the MemberWise Best Practice series. This video is brought to you today by the MemberWise Network, the leading free-to-join best practice network for membership and association professionals. We hope that you enjoy this great presentation, and for further information about our growing network, please visit www.memberwise.org.uk.
Thank you, Richard. Can I just check you can hear me at the back? And can you see me at the back? I might have to stand this way so you can see me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I've got a story about digital transformation, and in a few moments I'm going to try and do some mind reading. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but bear with me. Before we go to that though, I just want to say thank you to our partners at Silver Bear for setting me up to speak today, to share this story with you. It's a story about how we've transformed the sales and marketing of our traditional business. But I want to try and take it a bit further than that and explore how those changes have actually transformed the entire culture of the organisation. So it's a story of change within sales and marketing, a story of change across the entire organisation, and it's a story that I'm particularly proud of. So the mind reading. I suspect many of you have a question for me already, and you're desperate to get it off your minds, and the answer is no. You don't still have to do chores when you stay with the YHA. This is just one of the perceptions, the misconceptions that we constantly face. You're more likely to turn up and find your bed freshly made, a pristine hostel waiting for you, and there isn't a curfew. Many of you, I'm sure, will have fond memories of trying to sneak back in, perhaps a bottle of wine in the back pocket or a bottle of beer, get past the grumpy warden and try and get in after 11 o'clock. You're far more likely now to find a fully licensed bar, a restaurant, a cafe, and a very welcoming environment. And controversially for this audience, you don't need to be a member to stay with YHA. And we'll explore the implications of that as we go through the presentation. So these are the big challenges we faced, when in fact, from a marketeer's perspective, I'm in a brilliant position because our product is much, much better than our reputation. You're quite likely to be staying in somewhere like this hostel in Ambleside, which 2 years ago, we spent £1.2 million refurbishing. Or possibly YHA Brighton. This was a 4-star Radisson Blu hotel. We bought it and then spent an additional £500,000 getting it ready to be a youth hostel. YHA Cardiff, a Mercure hotel, bought for £3.5 million this time last year and had an additional £500,000 stripping out bedrooms, putting in classrooms and making it ready to be a youth hostel. It might be a hostel like this in Castleton, Lucille Hall, that had a £1.2 million investment in it over the last 2 years, where you'd be quite frequently see a school group making themselves comfortable on the stairs. It might be a building that's owned by our friends at the National Trust that we own and run accommodation in the heart of the Derbyshire Dales. Or Stratford-upon-Avon, a very popular destination for school groups, and this particular house had a £1.3 million investment by us 2 years ago. It might be a Grade 1 Elizabethan manor house, complete with ghost and stone spiral staircase. You might, if you're very lucky, find a bathroom like that. Not what many people would associate with youth hostels. And more people are staying with YHA in camping pods or camping or bell tents or even our very own Hobbit village in Canterbury. If you find yourself staying in an ugly grey box where every room and every hotel is the same, you've probably made a mistake and you've booked with Travelodge. I did check. I don't think there's anybody from Travelodge here today. So we faced quite a unique but a really quite interesting challenge. Our product was much better than people thought we were. We've got mixed awareness levels. We've talked about the misconceptions. People still think of drafty dormitories, chores, curfews. We had very expensive distribution. The cost of making a booking was phenomenally high, and the way we trade, and I'll give you some details on this later, was very, very passive. And we were completely lacking in customer insight. Now, most of these were just my hunches. And so obviously we needed to understand more about it. One of the big challenges, and I'm quite happy to share this openly, was that our membership was in decline. In 2007, somebody had the great idea of saying that if everybody that stays with us has to become a member, and if you're not a member when you arrive, you'll pay £3 and you will be when you leave. Now that was a mistake. That was really taxing people on arrival rather than giving them an enhanced membership offering. Our business was flat. We hovered around the £40 million mark of revenue despite all of that investment. And to put some perspective, our membership revenue is about £1.5 million, the balance being people paying to stay overnight with us. So we had a whole bunch of gut feelings. We had no shortage of opinions, I can tell you, but we were really lacking in customer data. And this is where our partner Silver Bear have really helped us allow this transformation to happen. We did some research about the awareness levels amongst the general public. Not surprisingly, we are not as famous as Premier Inn or Butlins, but really alarmingly, amongst people aged under 25, our awareness is critically low. We are the Youth Hostel Association, so having low awareness levels is a strategic risk to us. We asked the public, what do you think about YHA? And you can see there's a huge disparity between those people that stay with us, our bookers and our members, and the public as a whole. So this proved for the first time that we do have those barriers of perception to get over. Some people expect that they have to share a room. That's not the case. Most of our bookings now are for private and many for ensuite rooms. And still, some people think you have to do chores. One of the challenges we faced was we weren't really clear on our brand. We didn't know our purpose. We didn't know why we existed. When I asked everybody in the business, why are we here, everybody gave me a different answer. So we spent a lot of time discussing, arguing, fighting, and we really condensed our reason for existence to being down to focusing on young people and creating opportunities for them. Opportunities for education, opportunities for recreation, for health and exploration. And once we'd got that, we were then in a position to be able to start building a story around it. The understanding of our customers was based entirely on anecdote, and very often on the opinion of the loudest trustee in a board meeting who's been youth hosteling since Noah was a boy, and had perhaps lost a bit of touch with the real customer. I'm sure many of you will have similar experiences. So we started now to understand our customers. We know where they want to go, and that obviously is a huge step towards our segmentation plans. We know why they want to go. What do people want to do? So again, you have another dimension of segmentation for communication. We then started, with the help of our CRM tools, to really understand more about the customer's travelling habits. Who do they travel with? When do they travel? Where do they stay? And we're now able to actually do some analysis of the demand of inquiries. A lot of our business, particularly for school groups, is inquiring now to stay next year or even the year after. So we now know how many inquiries we're receiving per bedroom, per hostel, per date. And we can adapt our prices and our promotions to suit that. We've started to analyse the value we get from our membership. Now, our total membership figure is 173,000 members at the moment. And yet we only had email addresses for 43,000 of them. But interestingly, of those 43,000, a third of them would donate to us, give us free money. And typically a donation was £47. So that proved to me there's a huge opportunity. If we can speak to more of our audience, get more engaged with our membership, we can increase the frequency of staying and the frequency of donating. We started doing some email campaigns, not revolutionary, not rocket science, but it really surprised us how engaged our customers and our members were. This is a newsletter that we send out every month just to our members, giving them updates, news and ideas and inspiration for travel. And I was absolutely staggered to see open rates at 35%. from my previous commercial background, if we cleared 2%, we'd be very, very happy. So this proved we have got a very receptive and engaged audience when we talk to them. I mentioned trading was very passive. When I was chatting to the chief exec and the finance director, they would say, is it going to be a good month? And we would have to phone around the hostels. Are you busy? How many people have you got in? Do you feel busy? Selling many beers this weekend? We were working blind. And so what we've started to do is build the business systems to be able to extract data from our booking tool, our CRM tool, our website, and merge those to get some really good understanding of trading. Now, I know this might not be relevant to many people in pure membership organisations, but by being able to track the volume of sales, the frequency of sales, the value and the yield of sales against prior years, against budget, at any level we like, we're able to actively manage our pricing. We went from a pricing team of just one person to a team of 5. And it's taken us about 18 months to learn how price sensitive our business is. Some pockets aren't at all. There's one famous hostel in the middle of the wilderness in the Lake District. It's always full. Doesn't matter what we charge. When we're trading to the backpackers market in London, if we are 50p more expensive than our competitors, it just stops. And we can actually tell for some of our competitors when their yield and pricing team are having a day off because they're not moving the prices. So that's given us the ability to actively manage our trading. We talk about harnessing the web. When I first joined, we just wanted a website that worked. We'd been through a process of launching a website and integrating it to CRM. That was hard. That was really hard work. And on the way, we'd perhaps lost sight of the customer. We used to have a website that made every hostel and every destination look pretty much the same. And we used to expect the customers to understand how we were set up as a business in order to find what they wanted. And I've yet to find anybody who's ever woken up and said, do you know what, this weekend, let's go to the heart of England. I still don't know where it is. And apparently the board of Heart of England and the East Midlands does move. So we were forcing customers to find what they were looking for on our terms. That was in June 2013. We've made changes since then. We share our customer feedback publicly. If we believe that our product is better than people think, then we need to prove it. One of the ways of proving it is to show your customer satisfaction and also to publish TripAdvisor scores on your own website. TripAdvisor will tell you that over 80% of accommodation bookings involve a review site, a TripAdvisor site. When we put TripAdvisor on our website, we saw a huge increase in conversions because quite naturally people weren't going from us to Trip, looking at Trip and then being distracted into booking.com or booking through TripAdvisor. That was quite a hard decision to get through, to say to people, we will publish the good and where it does still exist, the bad and the ugly. The customers will find out. So let's put that pressure on ourselves. We talked about all this investment in the hostels, but if you don't show it, then people won't believe you. So by investing in professional imagery, showing the quality of our operations, of course, people are going to book. And one of the biggest light bulb moments we had was when we put the Google 360 virtual tours on site. For those hostels that had a 360 tour, we got a 300% increase in conversions immediately. So that's probably the best 500 quid per hostel we've ever spent. We moved our site to being responsive. Apparently, Google published the other week that 40% of all travel searches start on a mobile or tablet. We probably only see 25% of our traffic. But by having a responsive site, or actually making our site responsive, we doubled the conversion rate for those people on tablets or phones, again, overnight. And we finally got search on the customer's terms. Few people wake up and say, I want to go away this weekend and stay in a YHA. People wake up and think, I want to go away this weekend, I want to go to London to go and see the London Eye. or I want to go to Hawkshead to take part in the Fell Running Festival. You can now on our website use any search term. If Google know about it, that will tell you the local hostel, show you availability and prices, and tempt you to book. We had a brilliant session just a while ago in this auditorium about live chat. We've introduced it quite recently. We are late to the party. It's working well for us. Customers like it. A lot of our customers are teachers who are technically supervising a class or marking. They can correspond with us whilst they're typing. And we also see a good growth from our overseas business, where people are using live chat in conjunction with a Google Translate tool or similar, and they're able to get away from the language barriers. So has it worked? That's the main things that we've done. I'll share with you now the results. The most important thing, from any marketeer's perspective, is customer satisfaction. And we have seen our customer satisfaction finally break into the 90% mark. Our cleanliness has gone up. Now, I can't take credit for that, but that's a key driver, a key measure for us to make sure that we are delivering over and above people's expectations. And as a result of being able to show people what they're going to get and being completely open, honest, and transparent, our Net Promoter Score has gone up to, I think, a very impressive 72%. That, to me, proves we are better than most people think of us. The culture of the business has also changed. Can you imagine the scene 2 years ago? When you go and check in a youth hostel, you fill in a card with your name, your address, your date of birth, and your email address. And everybody staying with us has to do that. And they go neatly into an envelope so that if there's a fire that night, we can grab the envelope and know exactly who's on site and get hold of them. When everybody's left, that envelope gets put in the shoebox. When the shoebox gets full, it gets put in the cardboard box. When people got fed up of tripping over the cardboard box, it got put in the bin. And those were people who I didn't have their name, their email address. That was just thrown away. Since we've been able to demonstrate that if you give us the customer's data, we will use it and drive revenue, drive sales, drive membership, the whole business has culturally shifted, and we've recognized the value of customer data. We now have 3 times as many email addresses as we had 2 years ago. And that's without buying a single list or renting from anybody. And that culture has spread beyond trading. You've probably seen quite recently the sad news of charities getting into trouble where they're not able to demonstrate what they're doing. They can't prove that the money they're receiving is going to good use. Well, we've got so focused on customer data now that we can prove that 93% of the young children who stayed on a summer camp with us tried activity and sport for the first ever time. And 91% of them made friends with people from a different background. To me, this is gold dust. When we go and see a member of the government or a potential funding partner, we can actually prove through this focus on data that we're doing good for society. Our online sales, fantastic growth. Just last week, we managed to break a £3 million annual growth on the previous year. Our e-commerce team has gone from 1 person trying to fit it in around the rest of the marketing mix to a team of 5. But when you're growing by typically 30% per year, that's quite an easy argument to make to the finance director. Sorry, that animation hasn't quite. In terms of our total revenue mix, we still get half of our business transacted offline. And that's people phoning us through the contact centre, walking into a hostel, and there's a limit to how far we can push that because a lot of our business is really complicated. A school teacher bringing 60 kids away for a week needs to be on the phone, needs to visit the site, needs to collect payments. But we've taken the proportion of bookings that transact directly with us from 18% to 26%. And in terms of the savings that represent, the equivalent commission cost for booking offline is about 14%. If you book through an online third party, booking.com, lastminute.com, that costs us anywhere between 12 and 14%. For booking directly with us, the equivalent commission cost with all of the people involved, all of the hardware, all of the development is just 3.2%. So that's driving a huge saving in our distribution costs for us. Important results, our revenue position. Last year, after 3 years of static or no growth, we managed to grow by 8.3% top line revenue, and we're forecasting 6.9% growth this year. So we're incredibly proud of that. And what's really important is that that growth has been driven by a growth in our occupancy. The red line is the occupancy of the hostel network. So the network hasn't got bigger, it's just got fuller. It's working far more efficiently, and that's generating more surplus now for us to reinvest in the network, but crucially to reinvest in those opportunities we make for young people. Last year, we paid for 7,500 children to go on their school trips with their mates and not be left at home. So we will be planning next year to at least double that and to increase the number of places we have available for bursaries for those young people that need the help to get this kind of experience. That said, we've made great progress, but we still have a lot to do. Challenges still remain. We still know we've got to get more digital, if there is such a phrase. We still have work to do on the way people interact through payments and also how they interact throughout the entire customer journey, from the booking, the phone, the live chat, the check-in process, the paying for the beer, buying a theatre ticket, and check out and the follow-up. We need to still continue to improve that and catch up to a position where young people expect us to be. And working with our friends at Silver Bear, we've got to do some serious data crunching. It's perhaps heresy to say it in this room, but we've still got to really understand the value of membership. It's very interesting to hear the debate this morning. I know that some of our members have worked out that if they pay £20 to be a member and stay 7 nights, they'll save £21 and £1 better off, yes, I'll be a member. And yet at the other end of the spectrum, we have people who are evangelists about us. They are members because they really believe and want to support what we're doing. At the moment, we don't know who is who and which are which. So that's work we have to do. We still don't have a single customer view. Quite rightly, many years ago, a decision was made that every hostel will have its own booking database. When you work in the wilderness, internet connections are a luxury. You need to be able to know who's turning up tonight, so having a standalone copy of a booking database was a great idea. But it makes merging 135 different booking databases and then integrating that to our CRM platform a challenge that Silver Bear are helping us through. We still have a challenge with our membership figure. I tell the board that it's currently broadly flat, which we all know is marketing speak for slightly down. But the slightly down is actually those people who were purely transactional members. And I'm not too worried about that. I'd rather have a smaller base of highly engaged, active members than a huge number of people that we've tricked into becoming members. So to draw my ramblings to a close, the conclusion we've come to is that we've transformed our marketing capability, but I think more importantly, we've actually seen a cultural shift across the entire business. It's not just within the alleged ivory tower of the marketing department. We started off by trying to get people confident of what we had. I deliberately showed you the pictures of those lovely invested hostels because we are really proud of those. And we want everybody to be confident promoting and selling those. We then said to people, look, we need data. We need trading data, customer data, satisfaction data. And to get that was really hard work because it meant more work for most people in the organisation. Why the bloody hell do I have to give you another report? Why am I writing this down? Why am I sitting here at midnight keying in the data of the people who are staying with us? But then we started to break the back of that resistance when people saw that that data was being used and seeing the results come through. The results started then to drive revenue. The revenue drives investment in the product and investment in young people. And that gives us more confidence that what we're doing is working. And then we start to collect more and more data. And so I think it is fair to argue that the transformation using e-commerce, the website, and CRM data has actually spread out and changed the culture of the entire organisation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Joe. Do you want to join me at the bar, if that's okay? So in terms of that session, obviously, there's been, you use the word a transformation with the organisation. I mean, the killer question, I mean, do you think you could do what you're doing now without the kind of revived web presence that you've got?
No.
Okay.
There's two things really that have allowed us to do that. One is the room and the permission to make mistakes. Our board, my chief exec, have been very generous in saying, well, look, we can't continue as we are. Something's got to change. Let's give it a go. Mm-hmm. So my requests for an e-commerce team, a CRM team, enhancements to our platforms has all been met with okay, we'll do it, but when will we see the results? Once we can see the results coming through, then it's easy to go back and say, okay, that was phase one. Phase two is, and I need this, this, and this to do it.
So you'd recommend a kind of almost like a staged approach to actually almost like proving the worth of the activity, do you think?
Definitely. And I think from a sales and marketing function, I think it's important to recognise that having the credibility of being a team that does stuff and make things happen is really important. So get a couple of quick wins, being able to demonstrate that you've made a difference by looking at the results makes the next business case much easier to argue.
And in terms of the change, obviously you mentioned about your board. I mean, was this, I mean, obviously from a staff perspective, I mean, I think we've all been frustrated by things that we want to do and we just can't do it. Was it very much that the members were like, they really were behind the change themselves and kind of said, look, we really do need to do things differently?
It's not quite, there's a range of opinions, should we say. Unfortunately, through our own failings, we don't speak to enough of our members frequently enough, but we hear constantly from a small vocal minority. And having the confidence and the thick skin to say, I know you don't like it, but we're going to do it. Trust me on this. It's quite scary, but when it starts to work, you get the confidence and people start to listen.
And in terms of the advocates that you've got, again, as organisations, we've all got these and we want more of them. In terms of the advocates that you've got out of that membership base, I know it seems like you said you're discovering who they are and there'll be calls to action and all kinds of things in the future. But what kind of things are they doing for the organisation themselves at the minute?
Well, we get advocacy on so many different levels. The person that writes a review on TripAdvisor is a great advocate for us, very specific to their particular stay. We really welcome that, and it's great. We have a huge following in social media. They write and support us and become free marketing departments for us. And then we go right up to advocates at a senior level through our representation at the all-party parliamentary group, our chairman, our patronage, all helps us support that at many, many different levels. So really, it's my responsibility to make it easy for people to spread the news and spread the experience they've had with YHA through social media, through web reviews, through peer-to-peer communications.